staring. I just like stared to see if the person's going to say something.
I smiled first.
You did. Well, welcome back to Perception Theory. I'm not even keeping track. I don't know how many episodes this is. What, 5?
Something like
four
that.
or five.
4 or 5? 5.
Watch it be like 10. We're not even close.
Not even close. But thanks for joining us again. Here we have Cuz, Tex, and Evil Ed. And today we're going to be discussing electric cars and everything. Oh, hello, Rodri.
Hello, Rodri.
We're going to be talking about electric cars and the fun things thereof that come along with electric cars. That too. Especially when you see shit's blowing up.
Right.
So that's what we're going to get into. Anything you guys want to kick off with before we kick off? You want to show your hat there, Ed?
Little love for the Orioles, baby.
They couldn't come up with like a better mascot or something, or at least modernize it so it looks cool.
Right.
Instead of some goofy character.
They could be the Baltimore Murders, or the Baltimore. Oh, hey, I was watching. Actually, I saw it this morning. Baltimore is actually leading the way of overdoses in the U.S.
Yeah.
So
wow.
yay! I knew that about 10
Claim
years
to
ago.
fame.
Congratulations.
I kind of find it hard to believe. I mean, I know, but when you think of like San Francisco,
right,
and another one's like St. Louis is like getting like well, it's been bad, but it's gotten like crazy bad.
Wow, that's crazy.
And Philly is another one.
Yeah, you would think those densely populated areas like that. I mean, you compare Manhattan or New York to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Well,
They can't afford it up there though.
That is true.
Because when you buy a Heron, you got to pay taxes and shit on it.
Well, I was
true.
gonna say, and up in Manhattan, they get the good stuff. They're still on coke.
Theirs are
they're
pure.
they're on coke and some good shit. Baltimore, they're on the fentanyl and meth. And
They got all the shit. They got to add to it, like
Right.
asbestos and drywall,
Oh God.
drywall dust and shit.
bodies.
Hey man, I got a screw the last time
Dude, no shit. I was watching Cops, which I do from time to time.
God, I love that
And,
show.
I know. And this girl called the cops because the people stole her $20 that she had given them for weed.
Did they arrest her and them?
No, they really had no evidence, per se. So the cop was just kind of like, you know what? Why don't you y'all just leave? Just go about your business.
But he took my $20.
And it's like, well, I was buying it for somebody else. Yeah. Now, what am I going to go back to him and tell him I lost his 20?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you are, as a matter of
I
fact.
guess so.
And as a matter of fact, while you're at it, tell them that you called the cops.
Yeah.
And tried to have us get involved.
To save your $20.
And if he really wants to, he can come and talk to him.
Well, it's luckily he didn't ask her. He's like, well, which gentleman asked you to get because this girl wasn't exactly rolling with a $150 IQ.
Ah, gotcha.
So obviously, if she's calling the cops and say, "Where's my $20?"
Right.
But anyway,
I want my $5.
it was. I was laughing my ass off. It was almost as funny as.
I'm gonna get you, bitch.
I'll get you, bitch.
That's all my all-time fave.
That is.
It is hilarious, especially if you actually watch the video of it, because the guy just doesn't even flinch.
Well, yeah, and then all of a sudden when he hits the ground, he's like, flailing around like a fish out of water.
But it was funny because the cop handled the situation. Now, I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, you can't. If somebody's trying to get away or whatever, I say take them down and bust their face. This guy, he hadn't even said anything to this guy when he rolled up yet. He just starts manhandling the guy, and the guy's like, "Get the hell off!"
Right.
What?
And not only that, but the cop was a scrawny white dude.
He's a ginger.
Damn
Gingers.
This guy was like kind of big, tall.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so it's like
He had a hard time.
Smoking a cigarette.
So he brought that taser out quick.
Yes, he did.
As Steve Inman would call it, ride the lightning.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen go look up on YouTube Steve Inman. He's this sports I think he was sports at one time, but he's this commentator, has that voice, and he does videos where people that do bad things and then get jacked.
You're on him.
Like a lot of it is like people getting robbed,
Right.
And then the person they're robbing actually pulls out a piece and then shoot, whatever. And and he's like,
Right.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah, you make that video, you're
It's
doing well.
funny as shit. All right, so let's get into our lovely topic of electric cars. And I had it was 20 reasons not to buy one, or the issue. I cut it down because some of them were kind of somewhat repetitive, so there's 13 of them.
Gotcha.
Right there. I just didn't change the numbers, but anyway, so there's 13 of them, and we'll go through and then we can discuss each little thing because there's obviously nuances to every little topic or every little reason. So let's start with number 1. And here, just before we start, the reason I have an issue with electric cars, it's not so much the electric car itself; it's everything that comes with it. That obviously, well, especially our administration here in the U.S. and some people just aren't thinking through.
Yep.
And some of them are just because they're greedy as shit because it's a pocket situation.
Right.
Especially like people in Congress and everything else that's got, money tied up in some of these companies.
Right.
All right. Let's go with number 1. Range anxiety is a genuine concern. And so they said the average, I can't even read this. I'm going to put my glass off because these are like for distance. I can't even see reading the damn thing.
Getting old.
Average gas-powered vehicle could travel 300 to 720 miles on a full tank of gas. In contrast, most EVs offer significantly. I'm not going to read all this stuff. I don't know why I'm reading it now. So basically, they're talking about electric is $150 to 300 per range. Now you'll notice in the commercial they'll always say, "Oh, you could go 350, 400 miles." They've never that's in like in a bubble test or whatever. They've never gotten that actually out of a wheels on the ground
Right.
electric car.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with that, too, is driving habits. Now, I'm sorry if I went out and bought a Tesla Plaid, I'd probably get, like, maybe, I don't know, 50 miles to the whole thing.
But you got a heavy foot?
Well, I would with that thing. 0 to 60 in, like, 1.9 seconds. Yeah, I could do that.
Oh, look at this. And it's so quiet, too. You wouldn't even know it.
Giving them something that's that damn quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, the secret is if you get the black tinted windows all the way around, now that we can put them on the windshield, you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
It's like a private club.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Moving on.
Next
I was just waiting. I was waiting for text to have a little bit more.
I just
didn't know.
Well, I was.
We're going to cover the whole weather thing here in a little bit.
Well, the only thing I was going to add to that is, I mean, it's just like anything else that has electricity. The more stuff, it's like in your house. The more shit you plug in,
Correct.
the more electricity it uses. So naturally, when you're in the car, the faster it goes. You turn the radio on, you turn your air conditioner on, all that other stuff.
That
It
is
starts
correct.
putting a drag on the battery.
Right.
So it's like.
Yeah.
because that's the thing.
the-
These things are batteries, right?
That's it. Yeah.
You're not generating
a current.
energy as you're
Yeah.
going to supply all that shit.
Right.
It's pulling it all straight
Right.
off the battery.
Right, it's not a hybrid.
Yeah,
We're-
and that's
we're-
well, the same thing with a regular car that most of us drive now. It creates a current or energy that's just, if you didn't have the air conditioner on or whatever anyway, it would just burn it right off. It's useless at that point in time.
Right.
So yeah, that definitely would cause some issues too.
Right.
And depending on where you live at, like Arizona, those real hot areas like that.
Yeah, we're gonna get into the weather here in a second, because that, which I probably should have put it in here with the range because it does affect it, but we're gonna get to that in a second. So number 2, charging times can be prohibitive. Unlike an 8-minute fill up, some EVs take from 30 minutes to for a fast charge to several hours at home. So if I got to go somewhere, so here's my thing: if I have to go somewhere, and let's just say, I don't know, I wasn't feeling well, whatever it was, I came home, parked it, went inside, and I have to go. Let's say I have to go to work tomorrow,
Right.
and I don't have enough charge. I gotta wait.
That is correct.
So now I need my glasses.
Charging is an issue for me. I won't buy one until my hamsters stop dying on that little wheel generator.
They signed a petition asking me to sit back to the rowing galleys.
right.
Row.
That's funny.
Row. Right? So you just can't. You just can't go to the gas station, fill up, and
Right. And
5 minutes and done.
My understanding with that too is, okay, so Tesla has those quick charge stations. But if I had a Chevy, I can't use that. I can only use the regular. And the other thing, and I didn't realize this until I actually rode in one of these cars, you're not supposed to charge it 100%. Like, you can set it to charge like 80%, 65%, I guess, because it would build up a memory like your phone if you continually charge it all the time.
Or like we had that dust buster that's sitting there that because if you just use a little bit of it and charge it back in, you're right, it gets a memory,
right,
and only charges from here to here, not from here to here.
Right. Yeah, that's an issue.
Well, see, that's another thing too. I'm not sure because we have you see like even our grocery store has like 3 charging stations
right
now, but it's like, how much do they charge? I mean, is it free?
No.
I was gonna say, but so what is the cost?
They charge. It's by kilowatt, I think, but it's not much. Like, for me to fill my tank, it costs me from like barely coasting into the gas station, depending on where I go, is an average of like $70 to $75.
Right.
Now, with most of those, I want to say a charging may be like 10 to 15.
Yeah, I think it's on average about $20.
Yeah.
So it's cheaper.
Right.
However,
you're still not getting that.
I'm still and you go to a gas station, somebody's at the pump, you go to another pump.
Right.
Well, you got like say 2 or 3 charging stations and somebody's there, because what happens is, like at a grocery store, somebody goes, parks, plugs in their thing, and goes shopping.
Right.
Right. So now you're stuck. Who knows how long they're going to be in there?
Sure.
And it's just like, and they've already had so many fights at charging stations because everybody's like either a douche or not,
Right.
whatever, and or button in line, whatever it is. It's
Sure.
almost like a constant. At these charge stations, it's almost like the 70s all over again when they're like the gas
Right,
shortage.
waiting for gas, yeah. Yeah, because the other thing, too, when I was doing research for this, is the absolute worst storage for electricity is a battery. Because it will lose its charge.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you were saying, if you come home and you fully charge it, you're sick for a couple of days and you don't drive it, you're not going to get in it and have 100% of the charge. It's
Right.
going to lose charge just from sitting there.
Yeah, well, I was even saying, like, I got home and the mail wasn't feeling well, and I just didn't,
You didn't
whatever.
charge it, yeah.
I didn't charge it. I just went in, went to bed or whatever, get up next morning for work, and I got, 30-mile range in my work, 60-mile.
Right. Then what do you do?
Now I got to wait. Or what happens if there's a power outage?
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to get into the whole charging at home, the wiring here in a second, and all that shit.
And this is what they don't tell you when you buy it.
They don't. And so like it did. We I think on the previous show on Back to Bedlam, I think we even did a thing where one of the heads of engineering of Ford took one of the F-150 electric plug-ins,
Right.
and went on a trip with his family, and he actually had to write this article or whatever. It said it was absolutely a nightmare. Half the charging stations that were even identified, like along your route, weren't even operating.
Oh, man.
And this, that, and the other. Or they came out and there was a line already. So if you're traveling across the country and you go to the charging station, there's people there, you got to wait. So you know how we'd like to get where we're going?
Exactly.
So you got to wait for that charge station to be like, oh, I'm losing time, and people are
Right.
going to go ape shit.
Well, and if you're almost down on low, I mean, you're losing just having the car run.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just
Whoa.
it's just whatever. All right, higher initial costs. As of 2023, average cost of a new car in the U.S. is approximately about $48,000. EVs average around $60,000, and that's even talking about those little shit cars like the Leaf,
Right.
and the Bolt, and that little piece of shit. With this $12,000 premium, even with the credits they get, because the government will give you like $7,500. But okay, well, if I'm buying like a Tesla, which is anywhere from $100,000 to $130,000,
Right.
depending on the model, you give me $7,500 off. Woo!
Yeah.
Now I'm down to $95,000.
Right. With a 7-year mortgage on that thing.
Yeah, no shit. Additionally, insurance and maintenance costs on EVs are much, much higher, although they vary by model. And and part of that, let's just get to number 4. Limited model options. So if I go to Jeep, all right, let's say I can go Wrangler, I can go Grand Cherokee, I can go that Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer, which I would really like to have if I had 100 and some thousand.
Yeah,
that thing's sweet. But
it's awesome.
I have a choice, or Chevy or whatever you want. Electric cars, man, you're limited.
Absolutely.
Right, and people say, well, let's just have them make more electric cars. Well, even the production costs of an EV is extreme, astronomically higher,
right,
than a combustible engine car.
Yeah, because the thing of it is okay. So I want to say it was a couple of years ago when Biden was like, we're going to do all these electric cars and all this other stuff. You would literally, so let's say today is the last day to drive a gas car. Tomorrow we need to go out and buy these, EVs and everything like that. All these factories would literally have to revamp their whole assembly line, all the machines and everything, to be able to produce these cars. And that's one of the things that nobody thinks about in the background. It's not, just snap your fingers and tomorrow we're all driving EVs because that's what the government wants us to do.
Not yet. But just wait, because the Chinese are going to have that problem fixed, because they're putting them out like hotcakes and selling them for only $12,000.
Saw those, and they look like a $12,000 car too.
But still,
they deliver them in a crate.
But hey, look, I don't care if you gave me a $5,000 buyback on that shit, or $10,000. I ain't buying that shit. No. I'm not buying an electric car. I'm just letting you know that right now.
Right.
I'll be that crazy son of a bitch like a Mad Max that's out in the freaking desert and he's still driving a 78 Suburban with no muffler.
Well, there was
shooting oil tankers or gas tankers while they're driving down the road.
Well, it's like you said, like this point says, and it was like one of the this news show I was watching, and they were even talking. The only ones that can afford electric vehicles are, millionaires.
Yep.
Like celebrity. You always hear these celebrities, sports stars, politicians and stuff pushing this shit.
Right.
Well, they're making 6-7-figure salaries.
Right.
So it's easy for you, but the average American cannot, and probably in the foreseeable future, like you just said, will not be able to afford to get a damn electric car.
Right.
Unless, and that's why there's this over the looming over the horizon, the Chinese making this $12,000 now. Right now, we have the tariffs. They're like, they can't import those cars to the United States right now.
Right.
So, but
it depends who gets in there. If Biden gets in there again, God forbid, then they'll be coming here in droves.
Well, I don't think it matters.
If Trump or somebody else gets in, they won't get them in.
Well, I don't think
they'll lock them down.
I think that's above them. That's Congress too. But anyway, so the tariffs are in there, but still, it doesn't make any. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. And I said it before last show, and I'll probably say it again before this show's over. As long as the Saudis and the United Emirates and Abu Dhabi or whatever are making billions and billions of dollars pumping gas, there is going to be no electric car. There's going to be electric cars, but they're not going to take over because they're going to start shelling out their billions of dollars to nip that shit in the bud.
Yeah, nip it.
Because can you imagine if everybody went electric? Nobody really needed gas, petroleum anymore, except to make products, which is minimal.
Sure.
The Saudis, the whole Middle East would just go. They would lose so much revenue.
Well, I think
Russia would lose revenue because Russia is like pumping out gas left and right over to Europe.
The world economy would literally take a dump. And the other thing too is there is no way that electric cars will ever dominate the market. There's no way.
Ever.
I mean, if you look at the whole scheme of things, I mean, right now, there's no way that any grid that we currently have is ever going to support, like I said before, hypothetically, tomorrow we're all going out and buying EVs. The grids won't take them. There's no way. And then on top of that, I don't know if you get into the charging and everything.
We're gonna get into
see
the
it here.
charging.
All right, we'll let that
We're
one
covering
slide.
we're covering every pimple on your ass on this one.
Oh,
I've done my research.
I didn't know how many pimples people
Well,
have on there.
I'm covering them all.
Ouch.
So speaking of which, let's get into this. Costly home charging installation. So installing a home charging station can cost between $1,000 to $2,500. That is very, very conservative estimate. A significant investment in the purchase of an EV. As a matter of fact, an inspector from Massachusetts says if an inspector finds an old 1960s coated wire, like coated with fiber wax or whatever, in the building, the homeowner will have to rewire the entire house, which that costs. I can't even tell you what that's going to cost you, right? So we're talking about charging. So let's get into a little bit of history here. Or not history, but
just like we had one of these in middle school.
yeah. So here's what happens. All right. So if you go to the power plant and blah blah blah, right? So that generates the
That's 3 Mile Island.
electricity. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see the river right there? That's where all the fish were dying. All right, and then you got the high voltage transmission line. So think of transmission. All right, that's going to come up here in a second because I'm getting ready to drop some science on your ass. Then you got the power substation, and then you got the transformer, which transports, and then you get to the house where it actually from power substation to home it's a distributed distribution line. Now that we're talking about those little things, let's take a look at a electric bill. All right. Oh yeah, I did my research. All right. Now, this might be hard to say. Okay, here we go. So, let's take a look at the first red line: distribution delivery charge. So people with just regular electricity, yes, you do pay for a distribution charge. That is from the substation to your house. All right. Everybody pays that. All right. And everybody on the, what they call a microgrid pays that. Okay. So that's whatever it is. All right. So that's right here. Distribution charge. Now, then we get up to supply costs. See up there, the next one, supply cost adjustment. Now it's only $1.59. No, not a big deal. Here's the deal. Let's just say in a microgrid let's say we have 100,000 people. All right. Then let's say out of the 100,000, let's just say, I don't know, 5,000 get electric cars. All right. So the supply cost adjustment, because they have to supply more electric to that substation.
Okay.
Now we're not even talking distributed to the house yet. We're just saying to make sure that it goes to that substation, we have to crank out twice, 4 times, 5 times more power.
Right.
This is before we even distribute it. So the supply adjustment, cost adjustment, everybody's going to pay that. Regardless of whether you're using a electric car or not, you pay that.
So does that change? Like, let's just say we all live in the same neighborhood. There's, 150 houses. Out of 150 houses, 35 homes have the electric cars.
Yes.
Will we all have to absorb that upper?
Yep.
I mean, because it will go up, right?
In the supply adjustment cost, because they're saying to supply that substation,
right?
They have to supply that extra power to that substation.
So we're all
before it distributes to the house. So they got to make sure that substation can carry enough power for what's being demanded.
Right.
So you're going to pay for that. Then we get to the transmission service charge. So you're now paying. Remember, back here, you're paying for that transmission from the power plant to your substation, right? Everybody pays that as well, like I said. But again, that's going to go up because of these people who now have electric car charging grids in their home. All right? That's going to go up. Now, customer generation charge. I tried to find out what the hell that was. Nobody could explain it. I looked at, I don't know how many. I don't know what that generation charge is. I mean, I guess I don't know what it is. I guess if it's whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So clean energy assistance charge. Yes, the power companies are charging everybody for renewable or clean energy, for what they have to put in or what they have to research. Yes, all you people are paying for that, or all us people, I should say. Yes, you are paying for that. Oh, and then we have a renewable energy adjustment. Oh, so we've invested. So we as in Washington D.C. Power Company, we have invested, I don't know, a couple $100 million in some windmills. So now, since that doesn't generate enough electricity,
Oh my God,
we're going to charge you, even though you're not. We're going to charge you more money to compensate for the fact that we're losing power generation. Oh, fucking A right, man. Energy transition assistance charge. So that has to do with people buying, say, as you've seen, like, say, we all have Washington, D.C. power. Then you got those guys that come around and say, hey, we can give you power. It's a little bit cheaper from Pennsylvania, blah, blah, blah. You got to pay this, that, and the other. So anybody that either does that or goes to solar panels or whatever, then everybody else gets an adjustment, because now people aren't drawing as much things, so they can't charge them. Rest of you have to pay money. And electric environmental adjustment. So now you got to pay, because if I got to put a transmission line, one of those big towers or a substation, and it affects the environment, you get paid for. You have to pay for that too, because the government's charging me as the power company. So of course I'm gonna put that back on you. And lastly but not least, energy efficiency programs charge. Well, the government's telling me I have to get to a certain amount of, not even renewable green energy. They're telling me just the way I generate power regularly, I have to make it more efficient, or I have to generate it more efficiently. So of course I'm not going to take that hit. I'm going to hit you guys.
Yeah.
So then I'm hitting you up for that. So there you go.
And I love how they're like 10 cents, $1.25, 87 cents,
But on a microgrid, like say for instance, you might have 100 or 200,000 people on a microgrid. So everybody's paying that. Well, I mean, everybody that supplies power.
Sure.
I mean, you get, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 microgrids.
Right.
So everybody's paying this.
That adds up, and you don't notice it.
Right. And they're hitting you, like I said, they're hitting you for all the renewable, all that shit. So,
can you do me a favor? Can you click back onto your that little slide with the other one? All right. So, do you go into all the energy and how it's distributed and everything on like later on? Because I don't want to step on your toes.
What do you mean how the energy is distributed?
So when it comes to the plant,
yeah,
from there is a transformer, and that transformer actually brings it down.
Steps it down, right.
Right. So then when it goes to the high voltage lines, there's another transformer that steps it up so it can go along that line.
Yeah. So the transmission substation, you'll see that over there.
Yeah.
So it steps it down to go to the transmission lines. And then in the power substation, there's a bunch of other transformers that step it down again.
Right.
And then when it gets to the distribution, you'll see here, right in front of the house, transformer drum, it steps it down again.
Exactly. So if you start off with 100% on the power plant, by the time it gets to your house, you've already lost like 30% of whatever power that you had.
Yeah.
So that's an issue. That's a big issue. Now, the other thing with this charging at home, I live in a townhouse. How am I going to charge my car unless I go up to, some place that has these chargers and park and piss people off because I can't charge it at my house?
Yeah, no, you're screwed.
What about
apartments?
Yes, that's another one.
Well, what they'll end up doing is depending on if they're tenants or whatever, how many of them there are, what they'll do is they'll install charging stations, and then
to the cost of the
right. Then they'll jack the rent up or whatever like that up for the increased maintenance, all that other shit.
And then your HOA
oh man,
is going to
that's
go through
right.
the roof because I have to maintain these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I got Bucky over here, who's charging every 2 seconds, and he's got a big old freaking truck or something.
And he's got a box in the front of his house, which the HOA, I'm sure, would love. That
right.
Nice.
So I got to. So the HOA is going to go up because I have to charge everybody that's in that townhouse community or the apartment.
Right.
You guys are going to pay for. I'm not paying for that.
Right.
As the apartment owner.
Absolutely.
You guys are paying for it.
Absolutely.
I want to say this right now. If anybody's living in a damn apartment that has a damn electric car, then there's something wrong anyway.
Well, again.
Well, you could buy a condo.
Yeah.
You could buy a condo, and you're still kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Well, probably some of those condos have the.
Right. I mean, the biggest thing is now that the government is pushing this stuff. You have to keep that in mind. Because I know in California, was it last year, they were talking about, it was mandatory, like at this certain date, there will be no more gas using vehicles to be sold in the state of California, which I thought was funny because there was a point in time with all the heat and everything that they had there. Yeah. So they were asking people that had these cars not to charge their cars during certain periods of time when there was high usage of electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't have it both ways, guys.
He's good. Well, that's
Gavin Newsom.
If you ask me anyway, that's
jackass.
all that is what they call lip service.
Yeah.
It's like you sit there and say something. By this date, we're going to have this, and of course that day comes, and it's like, well, by this date, so because it is,
We've made wonderful
especially
strides.
the state of California. You cannot have California and the problems that they're having with their power company.
Oh yeah.
You cannot. It's impossible.
Right.
Well, it's like Tex said. It's like you got all these celebrities and stuff talking that shit. They're taking private jets or whatever, and you'll have let's just say like a basketball star, right? Has like 10 cars. He might have one Tesla, then he's got 9
Hummers,
and or old muscle cars that are blowing all kind of shit. I mean, not that I have a problem with that. That's what I do, but. People are so full of shit.
Does Ferrari make a electric car?
Yes, actually
they do.
they started making so apparently now like with the Indy cars, the F1 racing, they also now have EV racing. So all these high-end manufacturers are actually manufacturing these Formula 1 race cars. Porsche is amazing. I happened to see a video with one of those things on there, and this thing was like from a dead stop to like 150 miles an hour, like nothing ever happened. But, again, I enjoy watching racing. I'm not a big NASCAR fan, but the thing for me is that engine noise. And especially with Formula 1. I mean, you're talking these guys that hit 200 miles an hour.
Well, especially if I want to hear it.
You'll have to buy like sound effects.
Hey, Ford got caught a couple years ago with that in the Mustangs when they started doing the drop-down Mustangs. So they actually got caught. When you had your radio on, they had the background noise of that. But when you stepped outside of the car, you didn't hear anything.
It's like what's?
Hey,
I don't hear nothing.
Hey, watch it. You want to hear? You want to hear us? You want to hear a F1 racing with electric cars? Watch. It's so stupid.
Then you hear all the people mumbling, all the people having their conversations and shit.
Right. Never heard that before.
Shut up.
Well, especially if you go to NASCAR and they make those all electric. Imagine all the drunk red. You be hear all the drunk rednecks.
Oh man.
The more we batch all electric cars, I'll be safely dead and cremated with this company. Yeah, I know.
So are we.
Yeah.
So we, but it's just in the direction they're heading. It just makes no sense. Now here's another one. This one I did not know. Depreciation rates. So apparently for EVs, an EV can lose about 52% of its value within 3 years, compared to say 39 for traditional vehicles. I didn't know EVs dumped.
Oh yeah.
That much. I know a car depreciates. I knew that.
Right.
But an EV that dumps over half its value within the first 3 years. Holy shit.
Yep. And that was okay. So my wife bought a car at CarMax, I wouldn't say last year or something. They had a bunch of Teslas that were out there. And, I'm just poking around. A salesperson comes out and I'm like, well, how do you know what issues and everything you have? Because they're technically, I mean, other than, what is it, changing, it's not, I think it's coolant. There's that, and there's the brake fluid that needs to be changed. I think you'd have coolant right, to keep that, or the batteries cool.
Batteries cool or whatever.
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, I mean, there's really zero maintenance on it. So, like, with my car, if I saw it, because, you go on CarMax, you can go anywhere, and you see these cars that are like, 127,000 miles, and they're selling it for like $20,000. How the hell do you do that with these EVs?
Like, what do you mean? Like, how do you measure
like the wear and tear?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought I don't know, but I thought I had heard somewhere a while ago that they go through tires quicker on electric vehicles than they do gas vehicles. I don't know if it's the weight, if it's the weight or whatever of the car. Well, not only that, but let's say if you've got a used electric car,
right?
Well, let's say you don't know what the battery charge on that thing is.
Right.
So let's say it can only hold like 50%. So then it gets to a point where it's like you have to buy. Okay, so how much is the cost of buying a brand new battery to put in that thing?
Right.
So
that's another thing.
So one would assume that if you traded in at a dealer, that one would assume that they would charge it to make sure. Now, I don't want to give them that much credit,
right?
But one would assume that they do that. But again,
well, you would think just like everything else is on a computer, everything's computerized now. They just hook it up, and it should be able to tell them how much that battery, what battery life is on it.
Yeah, I found that very interesting because he didn't really give me a straight answer on it.
Because he probably
okay. So I go out and I buy a pre-owned Tesla. I get a really good deal on it. Well, what the hell am I going to get when I go to sell that to upgrade to a new Tesla?
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, if it dropped 59%, what am I going to get when I go to get rid of this thing?
Thank you.
I probably won't even get that. Now, see, that would be something I would buy the manufacturer's warranty on. Like CarMax has a unbelievable warranty on them. I usually don't buy a warranty on a car. That would be one that I would buy.
Well, yeah, because everything's electronic. I mean, if something goes, let's just say the brain and that thing goes bad or whatever, you lost everything.
Absolutely.
That's something that you can't even get the door open.
No.
Because those door handles won't come out.
Bing. Damn it.
So that leads us to high maintenance and repair costs. They said just replacing an EV battery. Well, first of all, it says it needs less routine maintenance than gas vehicles. That's correct. However, repairs are extremely costly. And where are you finding the technicians to do it?
That is correct.
They're very few for. So an EV battery, if you have to replace it, can cost anywhere from $4,000 to the little PP ones, to $20,000 for the larger batteries.
Right.
So
that's cost of a Volkswagen. That's cost of a Jetta.
Yeah. so you go like that. You can get an engine replaced for about $6,000-$7,000, right?
Yep.
But you have a Tesla, whatever, and the battery goes bad. I guarantee you, it's every bit of $20,000, if not more.
So okay, I was watching something actually this morning on this guy owns a Tesla, and he does comparisons between gas combustion and these electric cars. So there is a lot of things that they don't tell you when you buy these cars, and I had no idea. Well, the first thing that he went over, he had a $2,000 repair. He hit a pothole, and because the car is so heavy, it literally flattened the rim on the one side. So because you have to have the special wheels to handle that weight, that and the tires will run anywhere, I think he was saying anywhere between like $200 to $350 per tire. So the technology that goes into these tires, like you were saying before, the sidewalls have to be built up, unlike our tires that we have for a car, because our cars aren't that heavy.
You just can't go to Goodyear and get the special of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, because if not, you're going to blow the sidewalls out of it when you make those turns on the highway and things like that. But yeah, so, and here's another thing. I happened to catch another video. Guy wasn't paying attention and hit a curb. Guess what he hit? right into the battery.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because the battery is pretty much almost the whole entire chassis of these cars.
Mm-hmm.
So then what do you do? Also with Tesla, they come with these 4 discs. And what they're for is, when we were growing up, we all had to learn how to change our tires and things like that. And you know that there are specific spots where you jack it up so you don't bend the frame. Tesla, they have it's about the size of a hockey puck, and it has a little screw head that goes on it. So you find that spot, and then you have to twist that thing in there before you lift the car. So that way, if you call AAA and they come out to jack that car up, they're not going to break the battery, which I thought was interesting because I had never thought about that before. I get a flat tire, I'm going to start jacking that car up to get to that wheel. You can't just do that. So if somebody has no clue, they're just going to shove a jack underneath of there, and if you crack that battery, there you go.
20 grand. I guarantee that's probably just for the battery.
Yeah.
I guarantee that's not for the labor.
Oh yeah.
Because I saw one, and I wish I would have brought or pulled it, but there was one that he had a Chevy Bolt, did something, whatever, busted the battery, cost him $28 and some change, $28,000.
How much is the car originally?
Well, the Bolt, it's still like 40, 50 grand, even that little piece of shit, because it's an EV.
Oh my God. That's like over half the price of the car.
To find all the potholes automatically.
The self-driving car.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Oh,
hey, Rodri, they're going to be doing. They're going to, not only are they going to hit all the potholes, but all the animals that try and cross the road as well.
Yeah.
Like all the birds and stuff will be like trying to.
So, with that being said, thank you, Rodri. There are apps like we have to get for the Apple phones. So you know how they do that self-driving thing? You have to download it. You pay monthly for it. When you see where all the charging stations and everything that are out there, you pay for that. It's another app. All these apps you have to pay for. Some of them you pay up front and it's yours to keep. Other ones are a monthly charge for these applications. So, it's not like you get into a Tesla and it's got everything downloaded that you would ever need. They come bare bones. That's how they get that price range down. But anything that you want to add to it, you're going to pay for it.
You are going to pay. So let's go to the last one just real quick. Some of these are just saying we got dependence on renewable energy, environmental impact of battery production. I was going to get into all that, but I was like, that takes us down another road. But I do want to cover that probably at some other time, is all the manufacturing of these batteries. And I will just say this, that it says the mining of the cobalt, nickel, and lithium and the generating the power offsets the carbon footprint that the electric cars don't.
That is correct.
Possess or don't.
Right. It would take, some cars actually take 5 to 7 years to actually make up that carbon footprint to even it out.
Exactly.
Rodri.
He's so stupid. All right, so this is real quick. So sensitive to bad weather, extreme weather, whether it be cold or hot, takes your decreases the battery range by 31%. So here's what I want to get into real quick, and then we can get into some of the stuff you guys wanted to go. The last one I want to really get into is skepticism about technological security, which in the article it says is a valid concern because it is true.
Ooh.
Excuse me. Potential vulnerabilities. The primary apprehension resolves in the possibility of cyber attacks. Given the EVs are part of a broader network, because they're based on this network, as you plainly see that you have to pay for these apps,
right? Because
also, especially I think it's Tesla's, and I think it was another one. They track your shit, right? So they're susceptible to the same threats that plague other connected devices. This includes, but not limited to, remote hacking.
Oh my God! So
your car can be remotely hacked and affecting other functions such as acceleration, braking, or steering. Yes, sir. Because it's all connected. Data privacy, concerns over personal data that's being tracked, stored, potentially shared without explicit consent. I.e., I could hit that, and I know exactly where you live. Oh, and I know exactly where your parents live or whoever else, and I can get that data like that.
Oh, that's scary.
Right? Which they can do it. Like there was a big thing back, I think it was about a handful of years ago about Waze, which I loved the Waze program, but there were people hacking it and were tracking people to work, to home, whatever else. And last but not least, ransom and malware. It says the risk of vehicles being locked or disabled until a ransom is paid or similar to attacks on personal computers and corporate networks are valid.
Wow. I could see me driving down the road and on that big, the iPad Pro that they have in there, and just see like a skull come up laughing like ha ha ha, ha as I'm driving.
Driving off.
I mean, to me, you would
That's
take
crazy.
like the data breach and stuff,
Sure.
which I think's huge. But even put that aside, the fact that you could, while I'm driving that damn thing, and that even talks about the self driving.
Right.
People can hack that shit. So if I'm driving down the road, let's just say I'm not using that, I'm just driving myself, they could still hack in to that whatever electric vehicle, and say turn off the steering to where I can't steer, and that thing just goes.
Oh wow. And I was just thinking when you were saying that for the hacking, when they hold a ransom, like a ransomware, I'm not going to give in to them. Screw them. No. They're probably going to hit you. I mean, I'm sure that there's a way that they could.
I can't get out of my car.
They can jam that battery up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you want to pay me $15,000 or you want to pay $20,000?
Well, like I
for a
said,
new
you go
battery?
home, they're like, you're going to give me whatever, okay? Yeah, they can lock your shit down.
Right.
And you ain't getting it, So it's like, I mean, they're like, well, I don't know if they can do that. Well, yeah, they can. If they could do it to a whole freaking
Hospitals
electric grid,
and stuff,
hospital, hell
Well,
yeah, they could do it.
Absolutely.
It's
You're just a MAC address on a network. That's all you are.
Absolutely.
it's worse with electric, but they've been doing that now with gas cars, with OnStar, anything, you have all these, like the stuff with OnStar, stuff like that. I read an article, we have a Nissan, my mom's Nissan Rogue, and every time you turn it on, it gives you this display saying, do you agree to send data or whatever across or whatever, and a lot of people just ignore it. They're just either okay,
just
decline,
accept,
or whatever. Yeah. If you press, the article I read, it's like, if you press OK, your car is constantly sending data to Nissan.
That is correct.
So
that is correct.
So anything with our cars are nothing. We're controlled by computers now. It's not like back in the 70s and 80s where
you could adjust your own carburetor.
Now everything has to. They plug the one wire into your car, and then they can diagnose everything that's wrong with because it's on the computer. So, but yeah, it's worse with electric because the whole car itself is constantly. Right.
Well, so you could
constantly send out a signal. Now, with a gas-powered car, you can actually limit the information that it's actually sent. It's up to you. It's up to the driver.
Right.
That's like these insurance companies now with these safe driving shit.
A little plug.
It's constantly sending. So let's say if you have like Allstate or Progressive, Progressive Safe Driver, it's constantly sending data to Progressive, or whoever's mining their data. So they know where you are. They know how fast you're driving. They know when you come to a stop. They know when you're braking. They know how hard you're braking. They know tension. If you the one article I was reading, they said their insurance rate went up because it detected that they kept slamming they were constantly slamming on their brakes. Wow. They considered that to be reckless driving. The insurance rate went up. So it's like, yeah, go ahead and put that thing on there.
Yeah, and they can also say, I use it to go back and forth to work, but I only work 10 miles down the road. Right. And they're tracking that shit. It's
right.
Like,
bullshit.
No, you're driving 50 miles
to and from.
They're tracking up your rates. And that's true. But like on a lot of these cars, like in the Hondas, like our Hondas and the one I have, you can say boom, and you can turn off what they call Honda Wise or whatever you call it.
Yeah, you can shut
it
off.
And it shuts off all the data. Okay. Right? But electric cars,
I think
you cannot do that.
It's on constantly.
You can't do electric cars because that's how the thing operates.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's some pretty scary stuff.
It is.
Wow.
But you know what? But it's like you said, you're being tracked by God,
your phone.
That thing right there.
That's why I said I'm going back to the 78 Suburban with no muffler.
Yeah, there you
Blah
go.
blah blah, just blowing shit out there.
Y'all have regular gas?
Right.
Regular gas, yeah. But
Or I'm
remember
gonna
back
get
in the
the-
day, you had regular gas and unleaded.
Yeah.
You know, everybody had regular gas. At
Or I'm gonna
first.
get that big ass freaking Cummins diesel Ram
Yeah, there you
pickup
go.
that's
You
blowing
step on
black
the gas,
shit all
it's like-
over. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Yep.
I love that.
Well, I remember. Speaking of which, just a little side note. I remember. I do remember when gas stations, when cars in the '70s started moving to unleaded, because it was supposed to be a better, fuel or what rating or whatever. And there was a lot of animosity. People did not want unleaded gas. I'm sticking to my regular
Right.
gasoline, you sons of
Well,
bitches.
there-
They tell me.
I have a little history on that one. I know you guys love my history.
We do, Ed.
So-
back in 1770.
No,
The
not
women's
that far
suffrage
back.
right movement was all about gas.
That's right. So it was back in the late 60s, early 70s. So with the gas, the regular gas, the engines knocked and pinged. It wasn't the engine's fault. It was the shit that they were running through it. Sunoco,
Sunoco, yeah.
they were toying around with different additives to get rid of the knocking and the pinging. They discovered lead was the only one that would take that out, which separated them from everybody else, and then everybody figured it out and started going with leaded. So when we started driving and you saw the unleaded, everything was, even today they still
Right.
show unleaded. That's why. That's where this whole ball of wax started.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it was Sunoco.
Right
Yeah.
back. But you know what?
And they're
thank you,
still in
Ed.
business.
And another point is why people got pissed off is because during that same time, that's when they started coming out with like the Mustang 2
Yes.
and the freaking Pintos
Yep.
and the fucking and that bullshit. So you went from a Mustang or a what else they have?
What's wrong with the Pinto?
Yeah.
like a Mustang or the Cougars
Yes.
or some of the
Yes.
really whatever cool. And then they went to these little shit cars and they're like
Well,
because they made them smaller,
better
but they
fuel
had
efficient.
fuel efficiency.
Yeah. And this is when the Chinese and the Japanese jumped in with their cars because they were more efficient on fuel, and people started buying them because they didn't have to wait. It would take a couple dollars to fill it up, and you were completely fine. Back then, they had the big Chevelles and the Lincoln Continentals and things like that.
Kinda
Those are
like
good old
the
days.
Yes.
Cadillac Cordoba.
Yeah. Yeah. Lincoln Continental, you get into an accident, you're rearing somebody, you feel it like a week later because you still haven't hit the dashboard yet. But yeah, that's why, because America, we were so, taking in so much fuel and just burning it on these big ass cars. And that's where everything started to go down. So you could get a Mustang that still use fuel, not as much fuel, and still be able to have.
There's no sense in any parts of this world to ever call that a Mustang.
Not now.
Not then either.
Really?
Well, because that was a Mustang. When you had a Mustang and then you get that Mustang 2 with the little fit, that's like,
Oh.
that ain't a Mustang. That's a piece of shit. It's like when they said, when they came off the Camaro and then made the Citation.
Yes. Yeah. How
It's
the
like-
hell
or
do
the
you
Vega.
go from that? A Vega. That's right.
And they're like, this thing's a piece. I got a Chevelle or a Camaro, whatever. I can run that son of a bitch to the cows come home and it's still popping. This sucker right here hits a damn puddle and there's something that falls apart and shuts down.
Right.
And it's like that's like the Mustang 2 came out. Oh, it's a Mustang. It's more efficient. And they're like,
The
people are like,
Mach
that's not a
2.
Mustang.
Yeah.
That ain't a damn Mustang. It's a
So you have that.
shit.
You have that with Corvette people now.
Oh, I
They
love
won't-
that
you
new
have-
Corvette.
But see a lot
I love it.
a lot of your Corvette, your true diehard Corvette people think the new Corvettes now are pieces of shit. They're
Yeah,
like,
you
give
gotta
me
change it up.
give me a 60s or a 50s,
Yeah, but those new ones do look pretty sweet.
Oh,
though.
man,
I mean, it
those-
looks like
yeah.
it looks like a Lamborghini. Is what
Yeah.
it looks like.
I can tell you this. I would be cool getting into that thing. I would be really cool driving that thing. Me getting out of it would be a complete
Dude.
circus.
Dude, no lie. You can ask. We'll ask Wendy as soon as we get upstairs. We went out to lunch yesterday at Main Cup in Middletown. No lie, these two old women pull up in a new like probably the last couple years, Corvette,
Right?
and this hefty lady with large bosoms and an oxygen tank. Not the big one. Not the big one, but the one that has this on a little strap. She gets her fat ass out of this Mustang or this Corvette. And it just was like, and the other lady's looking to drive. And I'm telling you, we're talking
Oh, wow.
70s.
Oh, wow.
No shit. I'm telling you.
Wow.
Ask Wendy when you get back up there. I'm telling you, I was like,
What the hell's
the
going on?
hell was that?
What the hell's going on here?
Martha, why are you bringing this damn thing around? I can't even get out.
Oh, I'm getting car.
Yeah, exactly. Make a right at the next intersection. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy, man.
I'm telling you, this
Wow.
overweight, old, with an oxygen tank, trying to get her ass out of a Corvette,
Wow.
a new Corvette. It was like,
How'd she get in?
It's easy
I
to
didn't
get
see
in.
that. I didn't see that
Gravity,
part.
man.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
she probably just kind of rolled over the thing. Because if you ever see the Corvettes, the new ones,
Yeah, they said
there's like a I don't know, some kind of like almost like a retaining wall.
Yes.
So when the door opens, there's a lip, a pretty good sized lip there. You have to go into the seat.
Yes.
A retaining wall.
I don't know what you call it. But
Retained your ass in there.
I know. Yeah, I'm serious. You gotta crawl over that damn thing.
Well,
yeah.
I remember because my uncle has quite a few older Corvettes, and this was back in the 70s. I remember the one time in the 70s we all hopped in the Corvette. Now here we go. My uncle was driving. My aunt was in the passenger seat. I was on my aunt's lap, and of course this is the 70s when if you were a kid. I'm surprised the mortality rate for kids wasn't like 60%.
But we took naps in the back window.
Oh, yeah.
And my brother and my other cousin were like in the little space,
Cubby hole thing.
like right in the back there. So it's like we had
Oh, yeah.
this Corvette was packed with the top down, and we're like cruising down the road, no seatbelt, no nothing. I mean, it was great. You're a kid. You're like, man, this is awesome.
Right.
Well, remember we used to ride in the back of pickups all
Oh,
the
yeah.
time.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, going down the highway at 60 miles an hour, and you are a half a degree
Absolutely.
of tipping over that damn thing and
Oh,
rolling
yeah.
down the highway.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Remember the Subarus? It was like a little pickup truck Subaru that had
Brat.
the two seats that were in the back, those
Yeah.
plastic hard-ass horrible seats with the
Yeah.
seatbelt on it.
Subaru Brat.
Yeah, man. Oh, miss those days.
I know. That was a good one.
So the one thing, couple things I wanted to add to the conversation is the batteries weigh about 1,000 pounds. So that's the big reason why you have to do the special tires and things like that. So the thing that I found amazing is this whole thing is, they look at 15, 20, 35 years down the road with this whole, CO2 output, the carbon dioxide, outputs. But the whole thing that we're doing this, we're not using a clean energy to create these EVs to lower that footprint. Actually, what's going to happen is we're going to be raising that footprint because of all the fossil fuels and things like that it's going to take to get the machines to the cargo transports, those big ass big cat trucks and things like that with the huge tires to get them out, get all this stuff out of there. So it's really just look ahead, guys. Don't look in the rear view mirror.
Right.
But
to be honest, so there's a whole thing of clean natural gas and clean coal. They're trying to get implemented more of and do the research on. Administration's blocking it.
Yep.
They're blocking them. So they're like, I could do natural gas. I could do clean natural gas,
Right.
with almost zero footprint on carbon. And they're like, no, it's got to be wind, solar, or what's the other one? Wind, solar. I guess that's
water.
well, wind, solar. I mean, they're wanting to go into, like in some of these oil companies like Exxon and Chevron. They're some of the biggest researchers in renewable energy. They're trying to get like what's the the ground what do you call it?
Fragging?
No, geothermal.
Yes.
And they're investigating. But the administration, this a piece of shit. I said it, is blocking that shit because they don't consider that renewable.
Right.
And so they're blocking them because they want to like be able to tap into some of these things and test some of these geothermal pockets and whatever else.
Right. Yeah, and I love the fact that, like, with our government, they're, this whole we're going to go clean energy stuff. I did it, Trump.
Yep. Well, you are. We're not.
But the rest of the world is not.
Right.
Like, I know for a fact it was in Finland, and I want to say maybe Sweden and places like that they still use coal to heat their house during the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do, as America, we can do anything we want to lower that footprint, but you're never going to get a lower footprint.
Well, but so the one thing about that too over there, because Germany has actually been like doing renewable energy for quite a while, but on top of that, they have like you said with the coal, they have the what they call it, the reduce the carbon output from the coal.
Right.
I guess you could say clean coal. So yes, they still use coal, but they're allowed to use, they promote clean coal. It's not all necessarily renewable energy.
Right.
Right.
But it's like, well, but see the thing here, you brought up a good point about the battery. Who is shitting out electric car batteries left and right now? Who's in the mines mining up all the cobalt and shit, buying up the mines in Africa and other parts of Asia, making that stuff.
Yep.
And they don't give a shit because nobody is going to say two pieces of shit to the Chinese.
Right.
India is the same way. India is just as bad.
Slave labor.
It's like, well, not only that, but it's like, okay, you all are so bent out of shape about the United States' pollution or whatever, blah blah. But India, if you're a quote unquote third world country, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Right. Well,
you can sit there and pump carbon and shit up there because you're.
Do you know why? Because there is so many like laws and bullshit here in America that basically we cannot pull that shit out of the ground.
Right.
We can't because of all the laws and everything. So now
Yep.
we have forced it to go elsewhere. And that's the problem.
Well, and in a lot of that too, why those laws got in place is lobby. Is whoever's lobbying whoever to do what. Well, that's like you said. Oh no, the Obama administration. Let's get these solar panels from Wang Incorporated out of Beijing. Well, they went tits up, and all that money they put in it went right down the toilet.
Yeah.
700 billion with the B.
So I find that interesting, which if you look at like at 100% of all these energy sources. So with the fossil fuels, I want to say it was like 75%. And when you combine the wind turbines and you combine solar power, it's only like 20 to 25%. So regardless of whatever happens, we're still using 75% of fossil fuel for our energy.
Yeah, but they want to stop that. They want to get to 100%. And it's like,
but you can't,
bruh. Well, everybody's a hypocrite. That's where I have the issue, right? Because you have somebody that wants to do, or they quote unquote talk about renewable energy, but they don't, like the administration or these rich people or whatever else don't use it. And even like Germany is the biggest consumer and buyer of Russia natural gas and oil, but yet they want the U.S. to come to the table to the UN with billions and billions and billions of dollars to supposedly quote unquote protect them and Europe from the Great Bear, which is not even great. It's like a cub now.
Right.
Ukraine don't whoop their ass again, but yet you want to sit there and buy all the natural gas stuff from them.
Right.
F you.
Right.
Screw you. That's bullshit.
Right.
And that's where I get that. It's all hypocrisy.
Right. And that's the same thing with like, Biden and everybody with this clean fuel. It's to me, I think it's like, you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to make it happen. let's do it, America. And all the engineers and these people are like, what the hell are you talking about? You're making a promise that we can't write the check for.
No. I thought it was hilarious where they're like, we're gonna start phasing out gas stoves because we got to get rid of natural gas, and all of a sudden they gave Kamala Harris, her stupid ass, gave everybody a happy Thanksgiving stuff. Boom, shit going right on the gas stove.
Yep. Craziness.
I know.
It's like,
Well,
shut
see, that's the biggest thing. Well, that's
Shut up,
always
bitch.
been like that. It's like do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
Us poor people, us poor folks have to do what the rich tell us to do.
Right.
And just real quick, we'll get back to like when I talked about the bill, like electric bill and all that.
Right.
So when everybody starts popping or everybody starts putting in these, the charging stations in their homes and this and the other, guess who's having to flip a good bit of that bill? The poor people, the people that can't afford it now. And the electric company's going to be like, well, we're going to distribute it across everybody.
Sure.
And these poor people are going to be like, well, my bill keeps going up and up. I'm not using any more energy than I was before.
Exactly.
That's my point. Is like, oh, we're about the middle, the common man or this, that, and the other. No, F you. You're going to pay. We're going to double your electricity bill.
Right. Yeah. And that was kind of the same thing. What you were saying too is like, remember how we went over the whole middle class and everything like that? So you have the middle upper class, and then you have the upper class. Those people are going to be able to afford those cars. Just like you said, they want to make it where everybody has to have one. Hypothetically, tomorrow, we're all going to be driving electric cars. There's people that can't afford it.
That's why they know it'll never happen.
Right.
It'll never come to fruition. Well, Roger just brought up a good point. Over in England, and I remember that they initially the Brits were like over to 2030 we're all gonna be electric, and then they punted the ball down to 2050, and I guarantee when it gets close to that they'll be like, well, let's make it 2060.
Yeah.
Oh shit, let's make it 2100.
Yeah.
That's a good round
It's
number.
just funny because there was something that popped up on my Instagram feed or whatever, and it was CBS News and NBC News interviewing Al Gore.
Oh boy.
Back in the early 90s. And they were having these big what do you call them? These these exposés about whatever, and they're saying by was it 20
we should
whatever, it's going to be an
already.
ice age. We're going to be an ice if we don't stop the catastrophic climate. And by then, climate change back then was an ice age,
Right.
And they were sitting there saying, and they had like Leslie Visser, who's the girl from the dumb skank from 60 Minutes?
Oh my God.
Well, she's the
Barbara
one that,
Stahl or something like that.
yeah, she's the one that tried to nail Trump, and he's like, ask me questions that you ask everybody else,
Right.
but you're not asking the same ones you asked Biden because you just did interviews him.
Leslie Visser got hit in the head with the football.
That's it.
I want to kiss her. Because that's Joe Namath when he was drunk.
Yeah.
On live TV, he said, "I want to kiss you." Anyway, Leslie Visser. But the point is, and so it's like that, and then they even did another interview where they interviewed, I can't remember. Oh, it was Fat Boy, the guy that makes the piece of shit makes the movies. He's a little piece of shit fucker.
Well, that narrows it down.
He's this little fat troll little bitch that.
Oh, Mike Moore.
Yes. And they're interviewing him back in like 2005.
He did the documentaries and shit like
Yeah,
that.
I remember
that are
him.
complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. But they were talking to him about 2005. And he said by 2010, 2010 or 12, he said, this whole thing, we're not even going to be able to live on the surface because it's just going to be
baking.
It's going to be it's going to just we're just going to be like, really?
So speaking of overseas,
Fuck all y'all.
Volvo is actually experimenting with the 18-wheelers using hydro shoot, I can't remember. Hydro something.
Is it like the hydrogen cells that they were using?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Mercedes-Benz is actually working on, they're experimenting with these EV 18-wheelers. So what they were going over is it's a great idea, but the problem is if a car battery weighs 1,000 pounds, just imagine, I know the size that they had was when you see the 18-wheelers and then you see that sleeper cabin on the back of it. Well, if you add another sleeper cabin onto the back of that, that's how big those batteries are. Well, here's the problem. You have these truckers that are going out and, they're picking up from the different ports and everything to deliver them around. Well, now you have to take off the weight of those batteries. So if you have a 30-ton or a 30,000
You
ton,
only got one pallet in the back of your truck.
right, you have to take away from that. But then the other thing too is you pull up and I want to say it's like 10 hours you can drive, but you have to take a break, mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can charge your battery in that point in time. So let's say if you sleep for 8 hours, it's going to take you about 8 hours to charge that battery. Good for you. You got in ahead of the line. What about all the other truckers out there?
Yep.
So then they were talking about making it where the batteries could be interchangeable. So like they would take it off of my truck, put me a new battery, just keep recycling those
Put yours in
batteries.
like a charging station by itself.
Exactly. But then the problem is, same thing you were bringing up, was the infrastructure.
Yeah, infrastructure's toast.
Oh, yeah. Because first off, you're not going to have all these stations. And number two, it's going to cost $1 bazillion just to build all this stuff.
And I'm talking about even the infrastructure as far as the roads,
bridges
too. When you are either doubling or tripling
Absolutely.
each car's weight.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, how many times have you been on a decent span of a bridge and traffic is going this way, but for some reason you're stopped and you can sit there and feel the bridge bouncing back up and down? I mean, if all these cars are stopped, you're talking an extra 1,000 pounds per car.
Well, I'm glad. I was just going to say that because that's another thing with all the extra weight. Even just out here in regular roads,
right?
The pavement's going to start cracking.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not going to be able, because it's that constant wear and tear. It's bad enough now with just regular cars.
Well,
but let alone with and especially bridges.
Oh man,
can you imagine if you're going across the Bay Bridge?
Oh yeah.
And then something happens. Let's say at the end somebody gets in an accident,
right?
And then the traffic starts backing up, and you're at the damn apex of the Bay Bridge with all these semis, and all of a sudden it's like,
yeah. And I truly feel bad about the bridge down in Baltimore that went down, but I hope the good sign out of this is that they're finally going to start to look at these things and think about them. How many times have you driven underneath of a bridge, like it's just an underpass, and it's all rusted out and things like that? And they'll go through and paint them every so many years, but it still doesn't take care of the issue.
What's with the paint?
Hey, nobody will notice it. Look.
Yeah, but it's like putting lipstick on a pig. Yep. You still have a pig, except now it's just nice and pretty looking.
Yeah. Now you don't want to eat it, so now it has no value.
Right.
And I tell you what, and like the guardrails, you might as well just chuck them out the door.
Oh yeah, they peel them
like
paper.
That so much will go right through it like going through a hedge.
Yep.
It's like, that's my point. Is like they've had where the Secretary of Transportation has been in front of Congress, and they've like questioned him. It's like you individually is also part of the push to get these cars as far as the Biden administration is concerned as well. You personally, sir, and I can't remember his name. They're like, but what are we doing as far as it's not the office.
Infrastructure.
Office of Transportation. No,
yes.
office. Is it office or no? What do you call it?
Department of Transportation.
Department of Transportation. Like, what are you guys doing for safety? You can't put all these cars on this road and then expect to say, well, the roads are just as safe as they were before.
Yeah.
When none of the safety features, guardrail or some of these, they got the impact things with the little water barrel thing. Whatever.
Yeah, that's going to stop.
Well, not only that. In addition to that, let's say you're on what you should know where you drive. Let's say if you're on the Beltway, and you're the same. And you're on the Beltway, and somebody's on their phone, blah, 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 not paying attention, and they rear. So you got an electric car behind you, and they come up and they rear end a regular car.
Fold it up like an accordion.
Well, then you got the battery that's going to.
So then, there again, you got insurance rates are going to start going. They have to go up because you're getting more totaled cars.
Sure.
The potential is there for more totaled cars, especially in large metropolitan
Well-
cities like Los Angeles, D.C., Baltimore.
Well, just the cost of the car and the technology on it, regardless,
Right.
you know it's going to go up. Because if
yeah.
I even have a fender bender, and let's say it even damages a battery or even some electrical parts,
Sure.
dude,
Right.
it's going through the roof.
Right. Well, okay, so let's think of this. We're looking at this now. Let's think about how the technology is going to grow over 10 to 15 years. So let's say that we go out, we buy a Tesla now, and, 10 years from now, we still have that car because remember, it's going to be good forever. And we get into an accident and it gets totaled because they can't replace the microchips or whatever for the cars that we currently own 10 to 15 years
The
from
battery technology is going to be way different.
now. Right.
Right.
And I guess the other question is, what the hell are they going to do with all these batteries? Because just like our batteries, our lithium batteries, they
I think I
die.
missed that one.
Is that on your list?
Is that
It
the
was. I
list?
think I missed that.
Like, what are they going to just bury them in the ground and wish for the best?
Oh, environmental impact of battery. Oh, the battery production. That's where I talked about where the footprint is. So the production and disposal of EV batteries involve environmentally harmful processes, including the mining of lithium, cobalt, nickel. These activities raise concerns about water pollution, habitat destruction, and carbon footprint associated with the battery manufacturing itself. Although EVs have lower operational emissions, the full cycle impact merits consideration, and the recycling infrastructure of batteries is not yet capable of processing the volume of batteries that will reach their end of life. So they won't even be able to dispose of them.
Right.
Because they don't have the technology or whatever to efficiently or safely dispose of all these batteries.
Right. So,
And because they said they can't be renewed. See, that's the only thing about these batteries. Whatever lithium and cobalt, whatever's in those batteries, it can't be you can't reuse it. It's depleted. It's done.
I think it's like a dry cell is what they're using. Like the old batteries back. Well, you can still do it today where you could pour the water in it and it would go. Mm-hmm. Like my truck, and I'm sure yours now, has a dry cell battery.
Probably.
So, yeah, they can't. And when it's dead, it's not like you can put jumper cables on it.
It's dead.
Yeah, you're done.
And they talk about, like the cobalt, whatever, with those minerals and whatever, and the properties that they use.
Right.
Once they're gone, they're gone. You can't energize them or stick them in a blender and mix them up again, and they're done.
Right.
So you have to get rid of them.
Right. So here's an idea. Let's dig out this huge underground storage area using those big ass trucks, still using fossil fuel, to bury all of these batteries, and we're still going to have to use the fossil fuel pieces to actually get it down into the ground to bury it. So you're still not achieving anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's crazy. And speaking of which, what Roger is saying, they actually have a thing now where Byron Donaldson, he's like a black congressman from Florida. Dude's amazing. I love him. He's even talking about when they were talking about renewable energy and this and the other. Well, the nuclear rods, they actually have a way of renewing those or whatever.
Oh, wow.
They break them down somehow, and then they're able to with the nuclear rods. So he even said to the energy secretary, who I cannot stand, of course. And he's like, well, he said, why isn't your administration looked into more nuclear type facilities? Because he said the technology they've even set, or there's technologies there that they can renew the spent rods from it. So the nuclear itself, of course, unless there's an accident,
right,
doesn't have hardly any emissions either.
Well,
there you go.
Nuclear power is probably one of the cleanest form, other than obviously wind.
Right,
is one of the cleanest forms.
But again,
of
it's inefficient.
energy.
It's inefficient.
Nuclear?
Well, nuclear.
No.
I'm saying nuclear.
No,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
nuclear is extremely
Yeah,
efficient.
but the
Especially
problem,
when it's as far as using nuclear energy as far as infrastructure electricity is concerned.
But here's the problem: nobody wants it on their backyard.
Well, yeah, and of course you got all these nut jobs that'll be like, that's just an excuse to make nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because we're gonna put one in your house.
Yeah. Well, 3 Mile Island. A lot of people refer back to that, and especially over
Or
in
than Chernobyl.
the Chernobyl was a complete disaster
But they
from
were
the get-go.
Yeah, because you're dealing with the Soviets at that time. They didn't have.
Right.
They didn't give
were
a shit
just
about.
like-
They didn't give a shit about safety precautions.
Right.
Like you talk about 3 Mile Island, there has been so much
Learn
safe.
from that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That they locked that shit down. But like Chernobyl, they were like, bullshit. We're just gonna keep cranking this thing.
Sure. But the thing of it is like that was a human error.
Right.
It wasn't created by a computer or anything like that.
Wasn't he trying to cool the rods down too quickly or something?
Well,
and
they shut something off which would allow the water to come in and keep the rods cool.
that's probably what it was.
And they shut that valve off.
Yeah, the rods.
And I will just say a little bit of plug for the Chernobyl Diaries is an excellent movie. Go see it.
Yes.
Or go. I mean, rent it or whatever.
Yes, really good.
It was really freaky.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this boils down to human error. Mm-hmm.
And that's what now they have safety precautions where you can't like you can't do that anymore. Like there's these other precautions that just hitting that won't allow that water to stop. It's got to be a whole process, and then
they have
everything else.
redundant systems now.
Gotcha.
Well, plus they have it's like almost like your computer's like, you sure you want to delete that?
Right.
So nuclear is the way to go, but again,
yeah.
Well, again, we've talked about before where you had the ecologists,
Yes,
versus the environmentalists versus
Ecologists.
right.
where they're saying, okay, yeah, so we're gonna have a clean energy, but we're gonna put a solar farm of like freaking 20 acres, and we're gonna kill all the habitat because they even talked about how the heat generated, even with these solar, around the solar panels,
Sure.
it destroys anything that's even gonna think about going anywhere near that place.
Right. Well,
Just because of the heat that are generated because it's all metal. And,
right. And one of the other thoughts I had too is the windmill farms that they're doing, and there's some that are placed out in the ocean, like near the waters and things like that. How many times have you been in a pool and you like yelled underneath of the water and it hurts your ears? So just imagine with all the whales and the dolphins and fish and everything in general, like with that constant vibration going on, what effect does it have on
I wanted to get into that because there's been a bunch of environmental studies, especially off the coast of New Jersey, where they've put in, I don't know, 10 or 15 of them,
right?
And whales are beaching themselves because it fucks up their sonar and this and the other, and the vibrations and the frequencies underwater.
Sure.
I wanted to get I thought it would get us down another rabbit hole, but I wanted to go over that too because there's all kind of environmental shit.
Right. And that's the thing is that, hey, we're going to do a solar farm. We're going to do it. Okay. But nobody thinks about the effects because we don't know. But it's never thought about.
Well, we know now, but they don't give a shit.
But it's too late now.
I'm gonna kill. Yeah, but but they're still putting in solar farms.
Right.
I'm still gonna kill all this habitat. Right. I'm gonna be cutting down fields, cutting down trees. This it now. Now they're not going and clearing big forests out for that shit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know they're not doing that, but it's still all these habitats and stuff, and the brush and everything else that they're getting through.
Yeah.
Nothing's living in there, but they're like, it was a field before. Well, yeah, it was a field. It was
we're going to kill the planet to save the planet.
But see, there's this, there again. There was something I saw. There's a simple solution to that. If you were to put every new house or whatever, if every house had like X amount of solar panels put on them, businesses up in like existing buildings had X amount of solar panels put on them, it would solve the problem. Because you already have these existing houses, and it's like, all right, go ahead and just install them, but they won't do it because that too.
Little John,
yeah,
they won't do it because money. Exactly. The problem, it's okay, and they were also talking about out in the Midwest, like you've got out in New Mexico and Nevada, you've got dead space. dead, where it's hotter than Hades, like desert, basically desert. And they were like, you could put an expanse of X amount of solar panels out there because there's nothing that exists out there except lizards and tumbleweed. Nobody can build a house out there because the water table's so down. You know, why aren't you looking into something like that? It's like there's
because then you're just looking at money
simple,
to transport, which are probably less than generating power itself.
Right.
There's solutions there, but they don't do it because there's a lobby. I'm telling, and this is what I'm going back on. There's a lobby on all sides that throws money into it to prevent this shit from happening.
Well, part of that reason is because again, it's same as the batteries. 78% of all solar panels come from China. So so here's my thing. For renewable energy, unless you're willing to invest back into the U.S. manufacturing infrastructure, you're still going to be benefiting the Chinese. The Chinese will still be making money hand over fist, buying up everything and whatever else, because the Chinese got lobbyists too. Don't think for a second they don't.
Well, that's why they're buying up all the farmland.
That's right. And it's like, bruh, but until these freaking greedy bastards start understanding they need to start investing more into the U.S. Now it's going to be a little bit more costly in the beginning.
Right.
But you don't have to ship all that shit over. Plus, there's better regulations part of it.
Right. Using all the fossil fuels to get it over here.
Yeah. No shit.
Right.
Well,
no shit.
And that's another thing. It's like one of the biggest polluters, or the biggest is for when it comes to fossil fuels, is jet fuel.
Right.
JP4 and JP8 are like, they put out, I mean, that shit is like toxic.
Hey, don't you talk about Taylor Swift's private jet?
How are you going to you can't eliminate. You cannot make an electric plane.
Right. I wouldn't trust it. Christ, if you can get
I agree with that too, Rodri.
What's that? Chevy. Yeah.
Heavy tankers are screwing with whales. And
But so until, I mean, you're always going to have that problem.
Sure.
You're I guess they're trying to figure out ways to make it cleaner.
Right. But
JP4 and JP8 and I think there's the one other jet fuel. I mean, that shit burns. I mean, it has to burn hot because that's what makes the fucking plane go.
Right.
And it puts out all the exhaust.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no way.
My final thought on this is this whole thing with the electric car. It's a non-starter.
It's a crapshoot.
It's smoke and mirror, because they're appeasing to, like this administration is appeasing to their base,
right?
To the left-wing base, saying we're doing this for whatever, but they know that it ain't going to happen.
Right.
There's too many gas vehicles out there on the street. One, too many trucks, which we talked about. The vehicles are not cost efficient. Now, if for some act of God, in 10 years from now or 15, whatever, all of a sudden Chinese cars, Japanese cars came in and they were selling them for like $15,000 for an electric car, and normal people could start affording them, then maybe it could accelerate. But it's not going to happen because the Saudis, I'm telling you, the Saudis are going to step in and be like,
yeah,
you're not going to. You're not doing it. You're not doing it.
But last administration, we were not only were we cranking all our own oil, we were actually selling oil, which hasn't happened for so long.
Right.
But we were
especially when you saw it was like $1.87 a gallon.
But we were still buying it from the Saudis. Though.
Right. We have to have a reserve.
But if we start opening that shit up and we can do our own, we can tell the Saudis go take a damn hike.
They've been saying that though for the past 50 years. Oh, we have enough oil.
Well, we do
this, but you know what? Whoever gets in office doesn't do it because the Saudis are like, we got our own golf thing now. Come on over here, and we're gonna kiss your ass. I'm telling you, it ain't gonna happen. It is not going to happen. It doesn't matter.
I just want my $1.50 a gallon. That's all I want.
Now, that would be nice. But it doesn't matter because the Republicans go in there. They get a lot as a stereotype.
Sure.
The Republicans get in there. They get the money from the petroleum company, from Saudis. The Democrats get in there. They get it from the Chinese, from all these like environmental companies saying, "Hey, we'll do this for you." So it's a no-win situation.
Right.
No, I'd rather have the Republicans in there because I want my gas at $1.50 because that affects me directly.
Absolutely.
The renewable energy and all the bullshit, they could go shove that up their ass.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing with gas pricing too. I don't mean to go off topic, but like, okay, so up here I can get gas for, let's just say, $3.61 a gallon. By my house, I got it yesterday for like 253 cents a gallon. But out by White Marsh Mall, there's an Exxon that, I shit you not, it's almost $5 a gallon. So why can't they make the prices all the same?
It's money.
And like they say, it's transport, which is horseshit.
Well,
yeah, because why is it in a? As a matter of fact, to go into some of these cities, it would be less of a transport than to go to some of the rural. But I can go to rural and pay a lot less per gallon than it is in the cities.
right.
It's just bullshit.
And I would think it would
It's bullshit.
cost more to get it there than it would be in,
Right, it would. And so my thing is just in my last thing on this, and then I'm done, is what, just bouncing off what Tex said, as far as even if they make the electric cars affordable, you're still stripping the earth for all these minerals and materials to build these damn batteries, and then how you get rid of the batteries, and that's probably 10 times more destructive
Right.
than a couple cars, shooting a little gas in the air.
We'll worry about that later.
Yeah, 500,000 pounds of rock to make one battery.
That's a lot of rock.
For one battery.
And what are you doing with that, right? As you start stripping this out, what are you just digging a deeper hole and then digging it this way? I mean,
Right.
And then you're going to start.
Yeah.
That's going to be so unstable.
Right. And
But we don't do any fracking, though.
yeah.
You can't do any fracking.
Going- One more nugget of information. The electric cars actually create 10 to 20 tons of carbon dioxide before they pull out of the lot. So in the manufacturing, all the rock and all the other stuff, getting everything here and built, again, you're talking 5 to 7 years, depending on what car you buy and how you drive, before everything equals out.
And do you realize that right now they've estimated there's approximately 2 million slaves over in Africa working in these mines. Now, some of them are working in diamond mines and stuff like that.
Sure.
Some of the old school shit, but a big majority of them now are working in these cobalt and this, that, and the other mines. So you get all these other dickheads here in the U.S. I don't really give a shit because that's over there.
Right. I can't
Right?
see it, so it's not
And
real.
it doesn't bother me.
Yep.
I'm saying here, I don't want this stuff. But yeah, let's go show them the pictures of the little 8-year-old, 10-year-old
Oh,
boys
they don't care about that.
in there with mud up to their fucking
Right.
ass.
No shoes.
Well, wait. They've been making their clothes for all this time, sitting there in sweatshops making their celebrities' clothes.
Well,
and
don't get me
Nike
started on
and shit like
LeBron
that.
James and China and shit.
Well, Nike. That's why I won't buy Nike.
I don't buy Nike.
Well, Apple's got accused of the same thing
I'll
because
buy
they
Apple.
had little. I know. They
You have
have
no
They have
choice.
to have little
I
kids.
love Apple.
They have to have little kids with their little fingers because it's the
yeah.
best way to get.
You might as well use it for something.
And
They're just auction thieves.
But we do have Oprah to thank because she'd at least put some nets up.
She bought the suicide nets.
The suicide nets up. Anyway, that's from an old show.
Anyway, I won't get into that, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of shit. I'm just gonna say this one thing. This is completely off topic. There's a lot of crazy shit now surrounding Oprah, and a lot of shit she actually had going on back in the day and now, and they're like,
Hey, leave Oprah alone. She looks hot now that she's got Ozempic.
oh, Zempic, but I still love bread. All right, I'm done.
All right, guys. I think that about wraps it up.
It's like anything else. My final thing. It's like anything else. It's horseshit. There's no. I agree with Rodri. Rodri says renewable energy is good, but it can only be a part of a solution. And
Right.
yes, that is correct. And my biggest bitch is until you stop the ultimate polluters, which is that could be another show too, is these industrial manufacturers that can buy environmental credits. I had a whole class on this.
Yeah, don't get me started on that shit.
I had a whole class on this, and I'm just like, are you kidding me?
No fucking sense.
But in especially overseas, when you show like India, you go to parts of India and you can't. It is just
Can't
so.
even see.
It is so smog, and these people live it every day. But yet, you can't say shit. The United Nations, you can't say shit to them. The China, who, all right, nobody can get into China to even see what the hell's going on over there, but they're shooting up stuff in the environment. But they'll be the first ones in a UN meeting. Oh, United States, you big polluter, you
Right.
You know, and it's like,
And they got
are you
they have
kidding me?
they have satellite stuff where they can measure all that stuff, and they're measuring it, and it's like, bruh.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like, are you kidding
It's
me?
insane. Plus, Russia's the same way. They're burning like
Russia,
dirty
right.
ass coal.
Yeah,
But
yeah, they're
guys,
straight coal right
we're
up.
going to have clean burning cars by 2035 to 2050.
You know what? I want that on like ESPN Bet or something like that, or MGM Bet.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna put my money on the. I would put my money on the over on that one, because that ain't gonna happen.
No.
It's not gonna happen.
It's not.
No.
Not in our. We'll be 6 feet underground, and probably your children will be 6 feet under the ground before that even starts becoming a possibility.
Hey, by that time, I will be part of the fossil fuel.
Yes,
I'm gonna generate as much gas as I can.
So there.
This must be Ed's gas. Blah, 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 blah.
See, I created it when I was alive, and when I'm dead, I'm feeling
Hey,
the.
all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, damn, that's Cuz. Oh shit, I recognize that stench anywhere.
Somebody
some.
got some bad gas.
Even in death, you're gonna be
That's
sucking
right.
it up.
So anyway,
Rat bastards.
All right.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone that puts their life out on the line for us every single day. The sacrifices that you have made with your family, being away in different countries and things like that, even here at home. Thank you all so much for what you have done for this country and for what you do to everybody every single day.
Yeah.
ditto.
All right.
And thanks, Rodri.
Yes,
You-
thank
one
you,
old- he said
Rodri.
the one old fossil to another three of
Another
them.
3 old fossils.
There you go. All right, guys. Thank you all.
Yep, and thanks. And again, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that way notifications. So whenever our new one comes on, it'll let you know so you can catch it live. I know there are some people, which I've already been told, that do watch the show, but they don't feel comfortable coming in the chat. That's fine, but I'll let you know that coming in the chat's completely fine. And well, as you've seen with Rodri, we've taken what they've said and opinions, and some we agree, some we may not agree, but we're not going to blast you for it and just be
No.
like, it might even spur
Another
a new
topic.
or a new conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
All right.
all right, so I guess are we to text yet? Nope.
No.
So Ed's going to be picking next week or next.
Now, I think you know what we should do. That college course you were just talking about that you took. About the whole buying.
Oh, credits?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do like two related shows because that's going to be kind of related. We got to do something. You got to do something. Maybe like the show after that. Maybe the post beach show will be I could do something like that.
Post.
Yeah, because we only got we got one more
And
the
then-
week of.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna be at the beach, and then
Yeah.
then we'll see what. Well, then when we get back. No, that's right. We'll be all right.
Yeah,
We'll
we're
be good.
fine.
We're good.
We're fine.
I mean, there are so many topics that I have that I just want to talk about, but so and I'm even wanting to start, even get in some of the what do you want to call it? Some of the humanitarian stuff that's going on,
Yeah.
or lack thereof, I might
Yes.
say. The whole, I know we talked about Israel and Hamas and
Right.
stuff. I don't know if you saw the frickin' bridge that Biden
Well-
administration. Oh, we're at $350 bridge, to be humanitarian aid, and that some bitch just went and ran to the fucking toilet. It's
Yeah.
like,
Well, I watched.
Jackass.
Well, it's like I watched I watched the whole show, but the ass end of the of Bill Maher this weekend, and he was talking about about the protesters, and about apartheid.
Right.
And his whole last part was he was showing how women are treated in Iran. And he's like, he says, you want to talk about apartheid? He's like, that's gender apartheid. And he was busting on him. And he was talking about how a woman was beaten and had the shit beat out of her because she wasn't wearing her whole shit right. Like her left eyelash was showing or whatever. And it's just crazy. And he's like, where's the outrage? He's like, where is the world outrage about how these women are getting treated over there? And it's like, you're all pointing over, you all want to put your energy into that. So, yeah, there is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There is a lot of stuff going on, and because all these young people are steered by social media. So if you see something like that, all of a sudden the special interest gets them and it turns their attention away from it on TikTok or what.
Right.
Because I gotta say TikTok, because everybody that's like Gen Z and millennials are on TikTok. They dumped Facebook and they're dumping Instagram. They're all on TikTok now.
And TikTok is heavily, influenced like whatever else.
So they divert their attention away from other shit. That's like Hamas has diverted their attention away from the hostages and the thousands of people they killed, and it's having them focus on all the atrocities of the Palestinian people and yada yada yada, but not telling them that we kept all the supplies, we kept all the food, and just handed out bread.
Yeah. All the Mediterranean coming over that bridge, they took it.
Yeah,
exactly.
All the money that we were given
Dumbass.
by the Israeli government and stuff. Oh, we didn't give that to the people. We were making tunnels.
Yeah.
So it's like, but they don't tell. But don't look over there. Look over here. And the kids are just like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, because they have some Arab dancing doing a freaking Fortnite dance, and they think it's cool. I'm just
idiots. So
there's a lot going on. But
so one of the subjects I want to do is Sharia law.
Ooh. Yeah, because you're well versed in that one.
I am, and just they're actually somewhat under the radar, especially in I'll say large parts, but significant parts of Minnesota.
Oh,
they're
really?
actually implementing that like in communities.
There's little communities, yep.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I
like that.
So I want to go over what and to be one of the topics we have at some point. I want to discuss what Sharia law really is, and this whole bullshit where that's not this bullshit. It is, and yeah. So anyway.
Okay.
All right.
So anyway, there's so much.
I know.
I could go
This world has given us so much shit to talk about.
shit.
Right.
Bunch of shit. All right, that's all I got.
All right,
That's all I
guys. That's all I got. All right, everybody, have a great week coming up here, and we will see you not this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday.
So wrong with you. All right, so
The 16th.
There we go.
16th. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
See you guys.
Tell your friends or tell your enemies too. I don't give a
Yeah.
shit. They want to watch us too. They
we
might
can piss them off.
Piss them off.
We'll piss them off.
It's better be pissed off than piss on.
That's true.
Anyway.
Unless you're into Dutch porn. All right.
Water sports. Anyway.
All right, we're going down.
Now we're out of here.
Out.
See ya.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.